It's the first day of June. Happy June to everyone tuning in. And we love to celebrate, don't we? June is often a month associated with certain types of celebration, graduations, weddings. We often think of certain celebrations around this time of year, but celebrating happens throughout the year. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to spend some time thinking about, talking about, and sharing about the different ways, the different things that we celebrate and the different ways that we celebrate. So put on the brakes, grab a cup of coffee, and join the conversation because it's time for Coffee Breaks with Steve. Welcome to Coffee Breaks with Steve on this Saturday, June 1st, 2024. And if you're tuning in live, it is morning where I'm at. I'm actually, again, may notice, is occasionally the case, that I'm not in my usual studio. I'm actually in a hotel. Carol and I are in Tracy, California this weekend as we're spending time visiting with family and celebrating an event of our own, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a few minutes. And we just want to take some time to see who's here. I think a few of you have tuned in already. I see Kim Baker's here. Good morning, Kim, Jerry Thompson, Carla Venturi, Kathy Garlett. Good morning to you all. Or in Kim's case, good meowing afternoon and happy Catterday. Absolutely. And yeah, it is interesting. It's Safeway gas. Oh, I remember Tracy. Best Safeway gas prices in NorCal. You know, one of the things about the Central Valley. Tracy is in a part of California referred to as the Central Valley, but it's one of the closer cities to the Bay Area. I mean, you kind of have to. Bay Area is complex, but you don't have to travel too far to get from the valleys separating, or the valleys where Oakland and area where Carol and I used to live in Pleasanton, which is called the Tri Valley, and then you get up over a little pass and you're in Tracy. And Kim's referring to the fact Tracy's just far enough outside of the Central Bay Area that sometimes prices are a little bit better, not always. But anyway, we're staying in a very nice hotel. We got here yesterday evening. We flew into Oakland, rented our car, and got here fairly well. We got here mid-evening. We stopped and got a bite to eat, and kind of looked at our old stomping grounds in Pleasanton, which was fun. But oh, thank you. Carla says, nice shirt. Thank you. It's kind of a tropical look and feel. It's warm here. I think that the weather forecast, it's already about 70 degrees, and I think we're supposed to get up into the mid 80s in Tracy today, which again is not unusual for this time of year once you get into June and those times of okay, more coffee is obviously needed. By the way, Rick, if you want to pick up the slack, Shalane is not going to be on here today. I'd be very surprised if she tunes in, and I'll talk about that in a minute as well. But if you would like to pick up the slack with the Everybody Drink, to you can do that. Let's share a little bit of our sweet and savory, which will also bring us up to date on a few things that I already referred to. I want to use this time. We've got several of our friends, people who have joined us on Coffee Breaks with Steve and been a part of our Coffee Breaks families, are a part of our Coffee Breaks family, had some updates. And I'm probably not covering everybody's updates, but I had a few that I wanted to share with you. Wanted to let you know, Adele Shepard. Adele is an actor, singer, dancer, who yes, that's right, the charcuterie. Thank you, Kim. That we had on the show a while back, not that long ago, maybe 3-4 months ago. Adele joined us on the show to talk about some of her projects. Excuse me. Wow. I'm just getting over a cold. I caught a cold about a week and a half ago. And excuse me, I still got the residuals. I'm feeling fine, but I've got some of the residuals. So every now and then the froggy or, something like that will happen. Oh, and Jerry Zetterwald's here. Good morning, Jerry. We talked about the fact when Adele was on here that she was featured in some episodes of Star Trek Picard in its season this last year. And one of the benefits of that for her is she often gets invited to be a celebrity panelist at Star Trek conventions now. And there's one going on in Long Island, New York this weekend. And Adele is there, and kind of put up here the schedule. She's going to be on some panels. She's going to be on the main stage part of conversations. And with her in New York this week is Shalane. And they are spending time together at this conference, at this convention. And then they're actually going from Long Island. They're going to be spending some time doing some workshops and some networking in Manhattan. And so they're there for like another week after this convention. But I wanted to share that Adele is having this opportunity. We wish you the very best. She's done a number of these, but have fun, both Adele and Shalane, and enjoy your time in New York this week. Our friend Jonathan Seagull, you may recall, musician, artist, composer, he was on a year or a little bit more ago, wrote a musical, an original musical called Space Vacation, the musical. And we featured that on the show. We talked about that. We shared some of the music. Jonathan is still trying to get his musical, his production out in front of some producers and get it onto the stage. And so one of the things he has started recently is a podcast to talk about it, share some of the music, give some of the background. You can find it on Spotify. I believe just as easily as going to Spotify and putting in Space Vacation the musical, it will pop up. You can do a Google search. And he may have it on more than one podcast site. So if you do a Google search for Space Vacation the musical podcast, I think you'll find several places that Jonathan has that available, and it's kind of cool to hear him share and talk about the musical, and hopefully it's going to help him get it out there and promoted. So if you go there and watch that and listen to that and hear what he has to say and want to share that with some other people, that would be great. Get some attention to Space Vacation the musical. It's creative, it's original, it's great. Our friend Alexis Kara-Gervais, actor, teacher. She was on the show last year as well. And right now, she lives in Tampa, Florida, and right now is in a production that opened last night. There is a musical called Next to Normal, came out in like 2009, 2010. An interesting musical. It deals with mental illness. It deals with bipolar disorder and other issues. It deals with family issues. It's not a lighthearted, happy musical, but it's a fantastic musical. And just wanted to say, break a leg to Alexa. She plays the lead role, the wife and mother in this small cast. And with a huge background on Broadway, in television and movies, musicals, dramas, comedies. Alexis certainly is well versed to do this, but the show runs at the Tampa Repertory Theater through June 16th. It opened last night, and once again, break a leg, Alexis, as you continue to present. Hope last night went well. Looking forward to reading some of the reviews of that. Our friend Izzy Stein, another New Yorker who we met a couple years ago and has been on this show as well, a regular performer in the New York scene. She does gigs all over town. She has just announced that she is producing an album that will come out in February 2025 called Questions. And between now and February of next year, she's going to be releasing singles little by little over the course of the next 6 months, kind of, I think, one a month to build up toward the release of her album. So I would invite you to go to Izzy's YouTube channel and look for her name, Izzy Stein, Izze. I'll put some more information on my site after this. Izzy is Izze and Stein, 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 Izzy Stein. And watch for her releases. Watch for the album to come out. We'll be sharing more information about that as we get closer to it. And Izzy, wishing you all the best as you produce and release this album of what I know is going to be fantastic music, because she is a multi-talented, extraordinarily talented artist. Some birthdays. One birthday that I had on my list this week, it's today. Kirsten Harris, who was on the show just a few weeks ago talking about women's health, beginning just a month ago, was on the show to talk about women's heart health, a nurse practitioner practicing in Utah. And Kirsten is celebrating her birthday today. So happy birthday, Kirsten. Another celebration this week that I wanted to talk about, and it's one of the reasons that we're focusing on this. My grandson, Remy, graduated from 8th grade. And sometimes we think, oh, well, what's the big deal about some of these graduations? We're going to talk about what the big deal is in a few minutes. But he walked and got to wear the gown and got his certificate of completion through 8th grade on Tuesday. Today, there is going to be a party in his honor. That is why we are here in Tracy, California this weekend. We're going to be heading over there in a little while and joining Remy and his family, members of our family, to celebrate his accomplishment. And so just congratulations to Remy for that. Just getting through, excuse me, Rick, let's do it. And you're right, Kim, it is a huge landmark. It is excuse me, when you are 13, 14 years old and you're just trying to wrap up elementary and middle school, we may say, well, yeah, he's just a kid. Try to think back to when you were that age and you were trying to get through that phase of your life and looking toward high school ahead of you. He's already been over to the high school and gone through the orientation, incoming freshman orientation. It's both exciting and scary. And it's just another landmark that we pass, another milestone in our lives. So congratulations to Remy. Absolutely. Do you have a special day this week that I didn't have on my list that you want to make sure that we mention? You can let us know in the chat. Maybe it's a birthday, an anniversary. We're going to be talking about all of those. Could be a special thing that's happened because you got promoted at work. Maybe there's something else that's going on in your life or the life of a close member of your family. You can put it in the chat. We'll celebrate with you. And if you got one coming up, maybe the rest of this month of June, later this month, or in July or August, and you want to send us an email so we get it on our calendar. I know I'm constantly, after the fact, seeing something on Facebook or seeing something on some other social media, and it was like, oh, shoot, I should have known that. I missed that one. Let us know in advance. And that way we make sure we acknowledge and celebrate with you. We're all about celebrations here, as you're going to be part of the conversation in a few minutes. But do let us know about those if you've got them. And also, if you've got something for sweet and savory for our charcuterie that you think would be something special to share, let us know that too. You can, if you've got one that's you've heard about this week that you think is sweet or savory, you can put that in the chat as well, so we're all aware of it. And if you got something else that you know of that's going to be coming up in the next few weeks, let us know about those too. All right, enough said. I want to talk today a little bit about celebrations because I think that we all have certain things that we celebrate. We have different ways. Sometimes it's family traditions. Sometimes it's cultural. We know that there are certain landmarks for reaching a certain age. For kids, depending on culture and religion and other factors, there are certain things that take place at different times, at different birthdays, different times in our lives. And sometimes it's just something that goes on within our family. But we're going to talk about some of those today. And I'm going to share some things that I know of, but I want to hear from you. This is, once again, yeah, okay, thank you. Some people did mention that my birthday's coming up this week. I don't usually put that in the sweet and savory, but yes, I do have a birthday coming up this week. It is Wednesday of this week. So we will be celebrating. We're doing some light celebrating. I don't do as much celebrating as I used to, partially. I don't have the energy to celebrate my own birthday that much. No, I still enjoy doing it. I've always been a celebratory person. But what are the things that we celebrate? What do you within your family, within your particular cultural or religious or communal settings, what are the things that you typically celebrate? Traditions, other ways that has come about, and how do you go about celebrating? We're going to talk about some of those, and I would really like you to share some of yours as we hit upon some of these topics. And I may not cover all the topics. Excuse me, still. Lovely hotel coffee. All right. First one that comes to mind is birthdays. And we do have a tendency, I think, to celebrate kids' birthdays, children's birthdays, differently than we do adults' birthdays. But it depends on the family. It depends on the culture. It depends on the setting. Because I know a lot of people who really go all out for adult birthdays within their family. It's a big deal. Sometimes the birthdays, particularly landmark birthdays, those can be a much bigger deal for adults. When you talk about teens, Sweet 16 is a big deal, even though you're getting past that, excuse me, juvenile setting for birthdays. Sweet 16 birthdays are a big deal. Turning 18, that's huge. I mean, that's sort of the first foray into adulthood. Still things that you cannot do when you're 18, but we kind of have there's a rite of passage element to turning 18, 21, 25, 30, 40. Then you start to hit the decades, right? George Carlin has a great bit. I don't have it here, nor would I show it on here because of copyright. But about birthdays, you can probably find out there where he talks about kind of the arc, the bell curve of how we go about celebrating birthdays. You get up to a certain point, and it's just the fact that, man, I made it to the next one. I'm now in my 60s. I'm now in the upper side of my 60s. I'm closer to 70 than I am to 65 now. And that, to me, it's a number. I don't get worried about getting older, but I do like to acknowledge and celebrate those moments. I count it as a joy that I'm still healthy and I'm still plugging along and still doing things as I'm approaching this next Wednesday, 68 years old. I'm fine with that. But how do we go about celebrating those? What do you do in your family to celebrate? Yeah, Kathy, Kathy Garlic put the little 70 with the frowny face there. Why was that, Kathy? Why did you acknowledge that in that way? I'm not going to say, but you can if you'd like to. Um, Closer to 40 than to 30, Kim says. You know what though? And the bottom line is it's my motto, my life motto is I have to get older, I don't have to grow up. It's always been mine. Yes, there are things that change when you get older. And some people don't like to even acknowledge the birthdays after a certain age. It's just a reminder of getting old. I'm not insensitive to that. That's for every person to determine. But how do you celebrate birthdays in your family? We do tend to still make a bigger deal about the kids' birthdays. For us now, it's the grandkids or it's the grandnieces and nephews, and we like to be part of that. I mean, giving the gifts and being able to watch them open gifts. It's kind of like mini Christmas. What do you do in terms of birthdays? That brings up another point. How do you celebrate the family birthdays when they are at or on top of or on the same date or very close to it of another major holiday that can overshadow? I've known people whose birthdays are on or very close to Christmas. Our granddaughter Carson's birthday is a week before Christmas. So, how do you go about keeping those still important? I dated a girl in high school whose birthday was 2 days after Christmas, and her mom always made a big deal about making sure that Christmas was celebrated, but then there was still something very special for her birthday 2 days later. It wasn't overlooked. It didn't get lost in the shuffle of the holiday. How do you go about? Jerry Zetterval says, I I believe in a birthday week. We are so busy these days. I actually kind of believe I'm with you on that one, Jerry. I actually kind of believe in a birthday month. We can't always, particularly as we get older, but even as kids, sometimes the actual day of the birthday it doesn't fit with everybody's schedule, school, work, other activities that may be going on. So sometimes you have to do it on the weekend before, the weekend after, sometimes even a little bit later. Um, so I kind of always jokingly talk about the birthday month. That's also because we are so busy these days, or we do see things pop up on Facebook or other, on Instagram, other social media. Sometimes it comes up on our feed several days after the actual event. And so what do we do? Do we just say, well, shoot, we missed it? It used to be it was almost a big deal and a social issue if you ended up having to send somebody a belated birthday wish. Now we just kind of continue. Oh, I'm sorry I missed your birthday, but wow, happy birthday! And those things are up there. I love looking. I will tell you the truth because I do love to celebrate. My birthday shows up on Facebook. On Wednesday, it will say, "Hey, Steve's celebrating a birthday today." And it is fun to go into Facebook over the course of the day and see the little wishes. It may just be as simple as somebody saying, "Hey, happy birthday, Steve." But it does my heart good. I like that. As a 68-year-old adult, I still love to see that. So we do like to celebrate birthdays. But again, I'd like to know, um, Rick Ventori talking about when I love this. I love what Rick is saying here. When I turn 80 in a couple of years, we should have a big party and all the family should come out here to celebrate with us. Rick, I'm with you, man. That's a big deal. We did that kind of thing with our dad. when he hit landmark birthdays. He lived to be almost 95 years old. And we reached the point, of course, where you don't know each year, is there going to be another one next year? So every year kind of became a reason to celebrate his birthday in a big way. But I remember when he hit 70, and when he hit 80, and when he hit 90. In fact, I think he was having a few health scares, and we all got together for his 89th birthday because we weren't sure if he was going to get to 90. But we have all these things that we kind of lean on as reasons to celebrate. Kim Baker's talking about that she's going to be on according to my treadmill, I will be 30 forever. That's fine too. I love the fact, there's still a trend among people to talk about I'm celebrating my 29th birthday again, or whatever they want to do. I don't have any qualms with people not wanting to talk about their age. I don't have any qualms with people wanting to share their age. I do find it, I think that I am fortunate in that I don't, on immediate appearance, necessarily look or act like I'm 68 years old. I feel it in my body. Trust me, I feel it in my body. I know that I'm getting older, but I don't mind if my hair turns gray, but it's not very gray yet, nor is it receding very much yet. I have lines, I have wrinkles, I have baggy places that are starting to form, but lots of times people will underrate my age. They may just be being polite when they say it, but I don't mind if they overrate it. I don't mind if somebody said, "Yeah, I thought you were already 70 or 75." That's fine. I don't care. I laugh that off, because age is also a sign of experience and wisdom, hopefully, that we've gotten wiser. But anyway, that's enough about birthdays. What about graduations? That's another one. I'm looking on Facebook today. This last week, a lot of graduations took place. And I'm looking on Facebook today, this morning, and seeing several of my friends who have kids who graduated yesterday or the day before. And I mentioned Remy graduated from 8th grade on Tuesday. But throughout this week, I've been seeing posts on Facebook and Instagram where people are celebrating graduations. And when I was growing up, excuse me again, you just have to deal with me clearing my throat and drinking coffee along the way. I know you don't mind. When I was in kindergarten, we didn't even have a kindergarten graduation or commencement or anything like that, but it's more the norm now. Excuse me. It's more the norm these days that even starting in preschool, when Remy was in preschool, graduating, the parents told us, "Hey, if you guys want to come out, do a little graduation ceremony for the preschool." He was 4 years old. Maybe he had just turned 5. I don't recall. But we just went out there thinking, well, this is sweet and it's cute. And then they start playing Pomp and Circumstance, and these little tiny people come walking out from a back room and come up onto the stage and take their seats in little caps and gowns. And I got emotional. And part of it was a rite of passage for these little people. And seeing the look on Remy's face when he saw his family, and they're all waving. There's no pretense, there are no filters. They're waving, they're yelling, "Hi, Mom," and stuff. But there's also a part of that. It's like what you see in the movie. It's like I'm watching 4-year-old Remy walk across that stage, and in my mind, I'm seeing 18-year-old Remy graduating from high school. I'm seeing 22-year-old Remy getting his college degree. Those things go through your mind too. But we see it in preschool, kindergarten, like Remy just did, graduating from 8th grade. In some cases, when they transition from elementary to middle school, if that's the way the school system's set, we even see it like in 6th grade, they have some kind of a ceremony or a transition, a rite of passage. What about, college, advanced degrees? We celebrated with Chelan a couple of years ago when she received her master's. We went to the huge ceremony where they were giving out, the university was giving out all the degrees, and Chelan got to walk with her cap and gown and getting hooded for her master's. Huge deal. But there are other things along with that can be part of sort of graduations or commencements or moving forward. What about trade school or getting a certificate that you've worked hard to achieve? How do you celebrate those? It may not be a graduation per se, but it can be the accomplishment of doing that. I got a certification that is a huge deal in the nonprofit fundraising world a few years ago, called the CFRE, Certified Fundraising Executive. And I had to study for months and I had to sit for this exam. And a lot of people don't pass the first time around. It's not as extensive as like a CPA, but it's that type of thing. What about those professional certifications and licensing types of things? Huge deals. Um, Military, graduating from boot camp, getting a promotion. We'll talk about promotions in a few minutes as well in your professional life, but just those commencements, those completions are a big deal to celebrate. How do you celebrate those within your family? How have you been celebrated? How have you celebrated others who go through those graduations? I think about weddings. June is a big month for weddings. They happen throughout the year, of course. But are you a person in? I mean, when if you're a married person or you have been married, do you remember the sense of if it was a big wedding, people celebrating with you? If it was a small wedding, keeping it intimate. How do you celebrate the other weddings within your family or your friends group or the people that are part of your community? How are those celebrated? And with those, the anniversaries, the wedding anniversaries, your own, others. Do you remember those or do you forget them? I actually, this is not anything against Carol. I just am, my brain remembers dates more so than hers does. And there have been a few times that I've remembered our anniversary coming up before she has. I have never forgotten our wedding anniversary. In fact, in July 12th, we will celebrate 44 years of marriage. And we still celebrate. We still find something special to do. Still a big deal for us. We like to celebrate the anniversaries of our kids and others. Um, again, it depends. I don't always remember. Sometimes I do forget, even though I remember dates. I don't remember everybody's wedding anniversaries within the family. I think I mostly remember my siblings, my own kids, some of the nieces and nephews, but not all. Until I see it pop up on Facebook or someplace and go, oh yeah, okay. And I try to acknowledge those friends. If they let me know, I try to remember those as well. Um, Babies. It's not just now, it used to be that the big celebration if baby was coming was a baby shower. But now there's all kinds of things. It's the process of going through an announcement sometimes with family, how you go about doing the reveal. The gender reveal is a big thing now. What have you seen? What have you participated in? What have you experienced? What have you done when it comes to that? Some baby showers take place before the baby's born. Some take place after the baby is born. I've seen all kinds of things. And what do you do in those baby showers? Is it just bringing gifts? Is it coming together and hanging out? Are there games that sometimes is part of showers? Is it just the moms? Is it just the women? Is it husbands and wives? The dads get to be there as well. How do you go about doing that? Same thing with wedding showers. We had a couple shower before we got married 44 years ago. Um, Bachelor parties, bachelorette parties. What have those been like for you? And what do you do? And are they a big deal or are they more low key? How do you celebrate these things? Religious events. There are christenings, baptisms, confirmations, bar mitzvahs, and bat mitzvahs. What about a member of your family or someone close to you being ordained into the ministry, into the priesthood, into some other element of ministry, being set apart, being commissioned within the ministry, being sent out to commissioned and sent out as a missionary. And there's all kinds of things even within our religious practices. Certain religions have landmarks along the way that even lay people are a part of and get recognized as they reach a certain age, as they reach a certain point of their religious education. What have you experienced there? How do you celebrate that? Jerry Thompson mentioning safety patrol at Kennedy School. Always a patrolman, never a lieutenant. I was still proud of my certificates. I actually made it to captain, I think. I think I was the person at one point who actually got to lead the safety patrol out. But that was a little bit because In our school, at Kennedy School, I went to the same school as Jerry. In fact, we knew each other through much of our elementary school. But in fifth grade, I was in a split class. I was a fifth grader and there were sixth graders, but there were more fifth graders than sixth graders in this class. And the sixth graders were typically the safety patrol. But because we had a limited number of sixth graders, they made an exception and allowed fifth graders to participate. So I was a patrolman in fifth grade. And by the time I was in sixth grade, I was actually a lieutenant and then a captain. The captain was the one who got everybody together, didn't necessarily carry the flag or the sign, but just kind of checked all of the stations and made sure everything was going well, et cetera. So yeah, safety patrol was a big deal. There were other things. What about sports accomplishments? How do you celebrate the sports accomplishments in school? That's another one that we haven't mentioned yet. Professions. Rick mentioned something about being promoted in the Air Force. Then they realized I wasn't even ever going to. That was the end of that. Oh, reenlist. Oh man. But within certain professions, whether it's civilian or military, there are certain points of accomplishment. What about celebrating someone's new job? Somebody gets a new job. Do you celebrate that? When you've gotten a new job, did you make a big deal about it, or it's just, hey, I got a job, yay, I'm going to work? May depend on the job. May have been one that was a big step up. And the same thing with promotions. What about promotions? Is that something that you have typically celebrated, and how? How do you go about celebrating? Is that something you celebrated at work with your colleagues? Is it something you celebrate with your family? Military, being promoted in the military, being commissioned as an officer in the military. Um, going from being a private or the equivalent to getting corporal stripes, or again, or the equivalent. That's not the same rank, it's the same classification, but not necessarily the same rank in every branch of the service. But moving up those ranks, becoming a supervisor or a manager or a director in your job. If you are in the entertainment industry, what about a show opening or closing? Or getting great review. Talked about our friend Alexis, who is in a show that just opened in Tampa, Florida. During our Sweet and Savory, we mentioned that the reviews are going to be coming out, even local reviews. How do you celebrate that if you've been involved in a show? Um, celebrating health situations. People who have gone through a an injury, a health situation, an illness. We talk about when people celebrate when they have been dealing, for instance, with cancer, and then they're cancer free, and they have their final appointment to get chemo or to get radiation, and walk out of that place after that. Finally, after being in the hospital for an extended period of time because of an illness or injury, and walking out of that hospital, or just celebrating a health milestone. Um, what have you experienced there, or yourself, or others in your family, others in your close circle, and how do we celebrate those? And then there's also just the idea of celebrating in different ways. Just we talked about life special moments. Last year and a half ago, I went skydiving for the first time. Now, there was sort of a mini celebration when I got to the ground among the people in our group, and sharing that information with my family, who didn't even know I was going to do it. I kept it a secret, and getting those reactions. We didn't throw a party for me, but I still felt like I celebrated that. My brother Scott, for his 50th birthday in Las Vegas, there's a tower called the Stratosphere, and I think there's a restaurant at the top, but there's also some rides and other things you can do. And one of them is this sort of vertical zip line. You walk out onto a platform, you're hooked up to this vertical line, and you jump off, and it brings you down, and then it breaks, hopefully, before you get to the ground. And I mean, these are things that are, not everybody does these sort of thrill, um, e- very exciting types of things. Someone who has ever participated in we talked about sporting events, races, um, other types of sporting competitions, any kind of competition. People who compete in dance competitions or chess, or I mean, it can be any number of things. We could go on forever with those. But when you have accomplished something, and does it always have to be that you're the champion? Or is it just that you have done it? Is that worth celebrating? Again, I want to hear from you what you think with that. But I love seeing all of the comments that are going off on the chat here. Jerry Thompson, show off. I think you're referring to my talking about having been on safety patrol for 2 years and rising in the ranks. Um, yeah, but we celebrate all kinds of things. It can be those special days like a birthday, graduation, wedding, an anniversary, birth of a child, religious, professional, health type of situation, sports situation, competition, just fulfilling a bucket list item. It can be any one of a number of things. The other thing that I kind of want to end with, because I think it's worth mentioning, is how do we celebrate the celebrations of life, the end of life situations? There are funerals, there are memorial services, there are wakes, there are life celebrations. Something that Carol and I have talked about, we had talked about for a number of years, that our memorial service and kind of what we would like to see happen when we reach that point, again, not looking at it happening immediately, but life is short. We don't know. And we talked about what we wanted to do, but a couple years ago, after our dad died, we didn't have a funeral. We didn't have a memorial for him. We got a bunch of people together several months later. Now, he died during COVID. It was kind of tough to get people together, but we got people together for an open house, just kind of party, just bring family together, spend time together. Yes, we had a little video that you could go into a corner and watch that was about dad's life. There were some photos and other things set up. In fact, I think my brother brought in a box, dad's ashes in the urn, and dad was there. I think was Corey there as well? I don't recall. I think we had pictures of Corey, our sister who preceded dad in passing. But Carol and I have now said that when we die, that's what we want to have happen. We don't need a funeral. We don't need a memorial service. It's more fun for people to get together and celebrate the fact that we were alive and bring the people together who were a part of our lives and let them share their own memories. Remember when this happened? Remember when that happened? Or just visit with each other. We shouldn't need to have those moments to bring family together, but sometimes we do. Another way that we celebrate just came into my head is sometimes it's not about a particular event, but people schedule and hold family reunions. And sometimes it's a one off, sometimes it's just periodic, sometimes it's annual. I know people who get together and just celebrate family by having reunions for the extended family. And it can be a few people, it can be dozens of people, it can be hundreds of people for some families, and it's a big deal. I just love to hear what is special for you. We are in town this weekend because we get to celebrate somebody. We try on this show regularly to celebrate those special days and acknowledge those special days in our sweet and savory. Because for me, celebration is a huge part of life. There are so many things that can distract us. There are so many things that keep us busy. There are so many things that can pull us down. But when we can celebrate, it sort of brings us alive again, doesn't it? It helps us to remember that life is a journey and life has its ups and downs, but we don't want to get lost in the downs. When I was working in nonprofit regularly, one of the things that was a big deal was we wanted to remember to celebrate the moments that were special. We wanted to celebrate if an event went well. We put a lot of work into them. We wanted to celebrate if a big donation came in. We wanted to celebrate if our program, if our mission was reaching certain milestones, because life is full of celebration. And that's another thing can happen in our professions is just we achieve a goal at work. The company achieves a goal, and everybody gets to celebrate. Hopefully, those things happen. And if they don't, if it's not happening for you or around you and being generated by other people, what can you celebrate? What can you arrange to make celebration about? Thank you for being a part of this conversation today. I'm glad we got to talk about this. Thank you for letting me ramble. We didn't have a guest on today. So we're kind of back to that time early on in coffee breaks when just Steve. And that happens every now and then. So thank you for letting me go on for the last 40 minutes. we're going to close things out. I want to tell you what's going to be coming up on Coffee Breaks in the next few weeks. Really, we only right now, again, we're kind of building the schedule week by week. I've got a number of people in the mix that have already acknowledged they're going to be here. We're just in the process of scheduling those times that we're going to be able to record the conversations, which will I could give you a list of people that are going to be on Coffee Breaks throughout the month of June. I just might not necessarily give them to you in the right order right now, and some of them may end up being in July. But I do want to let you know that next week, June 8th, our friend Ann Davis East, who's been on a number of times, we actually tried to get Ann on 2 or 3 times in the last few months, and because of things that came up at the last minute, it fell apart. I'm confident, fairly confident. You never know what's going to happen in the next week. I mean, it could even be me that something comes up with. But Ann will be on to talk about what's on her bookshelf. She's going to share some books, some authors, some reading that we might all be interested in doing. Some of you are part of book clubs, and sometimes opportunities like this give you ideas, ahas that you can share with your book club. And sometimes it's just us finding something that we haven't read yet or learning about something, and even giving our own feedback about books that we have read or are reading, or maybe by the same author or something else. So please tune in next week when we'll be on in a conversation with our friend Ann Davis East. What are the topics you would like to discuss? I mention this every week. I want to hear from you. Some of you have even been guests on this show to share with me and share a topic. Great. If you want to join me as a guest on this show and talk about something that is special for you, let's have that conversation. You can email me at cbwsteve@comcast.net. Share your ideas. Let's open the conversation. Maybe you know somebody in your circle that you think should be on here. I cannot even begin to tell you how many guests on this show have been because of introductions, mutual friends or colleagues of one of you who made that connection, and we've been able to have those people on the show. So please, please, please be a part of that part of the conversation too. And then just a reminder, if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go to YouTube after the show and go to youtube.com, and you can just put in Coffee Breaks with Steve in the search, or CBWS, and you'll find us there. Subscribe to the channel. It is easiest to watch live here on Facebook, where most of you are, but we're trying to build more on the YouTube side, and that's where we're going to reach a lot more people who can be part of the conversation when we have special guests on and special topics. It's going to reach a lot more people, and the more subscribers we have, the more Coffee Breaks with Steve just shows up when people go into YouTube. The more the algorithm makes us visible, and that means more people are going to be able to be part of our topics, our conversations, meet our amazing guests, and become a part of this circle. We're always going to stay intimate. We're always going to stay close to everyone here, particularly on Facebook. But there's a larger audience out there who could be a part of this conversation as well. So we want to make sure we are getting the word out there. Thank you for being a part of that. If you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, would you please share that information with other people in your circle? Give them the link. Put it out there in your social media, and let them know this is a show that they should be watching. Look at the videos, like the videos, hit the little thumbs up button on those videos, and show that you've watched it. That will help us get more visibility. Okay, I've rambled enough. We need to get ready to go and celebrate Remy today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for always being a part of our conversation, a part of this special family. And, we celebrate in so many ways. Sometimes celebration is just reaching out to someone and helping to make their day better, giving them something to celebrate. So please find a way to make a difference in your world this week. God bless you. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.